What is an audiophile record anyway? Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, this is Josh with Hi-Fidelity Records. Just wanted to come to you and talk about something I guess I never really quite realized was a question. So recently I just did a pop-up at a brewery. Now if you don't know what a pop-up is, I basically brought a ton of vinyl records to Marshall Brewery here in Tulsa tap room, and I set up shop. I was spinning records, talking to folks, and mainly what I brought was more common records, that you might find at a record store, 10, 5, $20 records. But I brought a couple of boxes of audiophile records, and I had a lot of people asking me, well, what is an audiophile record? What does that even mean? And I guess coming from the world that I come from, it was never a question what an audiophile record. I've worked for analog productions and acoustic sounds. I've been in the business a long time, so I didn't know that was, it's part of my vernacular, but it's not part of your regular record consumer's vernacular. And so I wanted to come and show you maybe a few things to maybe give you an idea of what is an audiophile record. And first off, you have your audiophile labels. And that started with Mobile Fidelity, started in the 70s. The very first, I do believe, actually they started in the 60s if you count the locomotive record, which I guess I do, I'm not really sure. But when they started with rock and pop titles, we're talking the late 70s. So we have a lot of audiophile labels now. Anything from Mobile Fidelity, Sound Lab, to Analog Productions, to Impex, to Speaker's Corner. There's a bunch out there right now. And then we have some of the actual labels who are getting in the game. They're bypassing the middleman, and they're putting out some audiophile things themselves, like the newest, hottest title that we have right now is we've got the television, and this was done by Rhino. Rhino pretty much owns everything. That's the Atlantic catalog, I believe, the Warner catalog. They own a lot. And this is the newest from their audiophile series. If you can just check out the little hype here, it'll give you some information about some of the particulars of this pressing. So, an audiophile label typically is going to go back to the original tapes or the earliest version that they can get, and they're going to press it they're going to cut it straight from those original tapes, all analog, no digital involved. And there is some that are digital, and we'll get into that later. But this is the latest in the Rhino Hi-Fidelity series, and they've been kicking butt. Everything they've put out has been amazing, and they have a fantastic catalog. Like I said, this was obviously mastered, cut by Kevin Gray. This was pressed at Optimal in Germany, which is the same place that this Beatles mono box set, which is also audiophile, was also pressed at. Also has the Stoughton jacket, which is the real nice, thick, heavy cardboard, glossy. It's beautiful. So this is the latest. So if you don't have this is still in print. Go pick this up. Fantastic sounding record. The next one we're going to get into is Impex. Impex, been around a hot minute. They started as Cisco, which I'm sure everyone's heard of, the Asia Cisco. This is one of my favorite Impex titles. This is the Friday Night in San Francisco, and this one's actually cut at 45 RPM, mastered by Chris Bellman and cut by Bernie Grundman. Now, what does that mean? What is the difference between mastered and cut? Well, somebody's twiddling the knobs. That's layman's terms. Someone's mastering it, and then someone's cutting it on a lathe. And that can typically be two different people. It doesn't have to be the same person. Sometimes it is. But Bernie actually cut this, but it was mastered by Chris at Bernie Grundman Mastering. Bernie, a legend. This is phenomenal. And the original of this is already an audiophile title. It already sounds fantastic. I believe that it was cut at Sterling Sound, the original. Fantastic sounding record. And that's one thing you'll learn about these audiophile labels. They're not pulling turds. to, for the parlance of our times, out of these catalogs, they're finding already great sounding records, and then they're maybe making them better or making them different, depending on their house sound and what they want. But I really recommend this. This is like they're in your living room playing live. It's a fantastic. Every audiophile needs to own this, and they also do a 33. Impex does, which I believe is still in print. But you really owe it to yourself. This is one that's worth getting up and flipping every 12 minutes for 45. And I also just love the cover. Look at the foil. So cool. So yeah, Impex knocking it out of the park with this one. And then we get into the OG audiophile label, our friends Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab. This is the Beck. This is actually the one that came out Record Store Day. I forget what year it was. They did 1,000 of these on pink vinyl, which isn't normal for an audiophile record. Typically they stay away from colored vinyl. But this one was pressed at RTI. They did a fantastic job. I think this is the definitive pressing of this album, and it's my favorite Beck album. I mean, if you don't have this in your collection, then you're shorting yourself out. Really awesome. And they kind of do the same thing. It's got a nice thick jacket. It's on 180 gram vinyl. Beautiful pressing. So Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab. Now some they've done recently, obviously, with the Jim Davis era, who's the gentleman who bought Mobile Fidelity, whatever it was, 15 years ago. They kind of changed their formula. They were doing some high-res digital stuff and maybe not telling people. So there was a big controversy about that, but they still sound amazing. And from all I know, I believe this was cut all analog, just from my research online. So Mobile Fidelity, another audiophile label. Another great audiophile label is Speaker's Corner. Now, Speaker's Corner is out of Germany. So this is obviously was pressed at Palace, which is one of the other great pressing plants that does audiophile records. We've got Palace, we've got Optimal, we've got RTI, which is in California. We've got QRP, which is in Salina, Kansas. Shout out to QRP. But yeah, this is awesome. If you can't find an original of this, which was already a great sounding record on the orange Dynaflex label. In fact, they even did let's see if we can get a close-up of this. They even tried to do a mock-up of the original Dynaflex. Let's check it out. See if you can see that. Awesome. So yeah, Speaker's Corner, and they have a fantastic catalog, but this is one of their best. I really like this from them. I like their Fred Weasley and the Horny Horns, which is essentially basically Funkadelic. So if you're into Funkadelic, get some of these, because who knows how long they're going to be in print. Some of these aren't available forever. The license runs out, so you need to grab them if you want them. So this is Speaker's Corner. Another we've got is DCC. Now, DCC stands for Dunhill Compact Classics. These are fantastic. These were typically mastered by Steve Hoffman, the legend Steve Hoffman, and I believe they might have been some of them might have been cut by Kevin Gray, or they might have been cut and mastered by Steve. Somebody let me know down in the comments whether I'm misspeaking on that. But DCC, they were awesome. They went back to the original tapes. Steve had an all-tube mastering system, really warm. And I'm going to be honest with you, all of these are worth buying. The Queen Night at the Opera, the Elton John greatest hits, the Hotel California, the Eagles greatest hits. A lot of them are definitive. I mean, I'm not going to lie. They're better than the originals. And that's really saying something, because, original of this already sounds pretty darn good. So DCC. And obviously, here's another thing. A lot of these audiophile labels will number them, and limited edition. They were limited edition at one point. I'm not sure now that some of these companies are pressing 25,000. I'm not sure how limited that is. But in the dawn of the vinyl, of what we're going through now, they were limited editions. So some of these had numbered stickers. Let's check that out. Boom. So, yeah, DCC, Steve Hoffman. You see any DCCs, pick them up. They're worth it. And so I talk about these audiophile labels, and then they went back to these albums that already sounded great. Well, that's another thing I've kind of heard from some folks, and maybe these folks are new to the hobby, or maybe they're just maybe misinformed. They'll say, I'll pick up a regular pressing, and I'll say, this is an audiophile record. And they'll say, that's not an audiophile record, Josh. That's not on an audiophile label. Well, I'm going to have to disagree with you. An audiophile record can be an original pressing. It just has to sound awesome. And here's one right here. I'm surprised hasn't been done. This is an original Kudu pressing of Grover Washington Jr., Mr. Magic. You might know Grover from his appearance on Just the Two of Us, rocking some sax with Mr. Bill Withers. But this record's awesome. It sounds awesome. It is definitely audiophile. I think later they did one that was on the Motown label, I think. But this is an original. This is probably the one you want to find on the yellow, I believe this is yellow, Kudu label. Let's get a... Yeah, there you go. Mr. Magic, Grover Washington. This is an audiophile record. It's not on an audiophile label, but it could be. They could redo it. I'm talking to y'all, talking to Impex, talking to MoFi, talking to Analog Productions. This is a banger. Awesome record. This is another one that has been redone by audiophile labels, but the original sounds killer. Headhunters, obviously. Herbie Hancock. This has been redone by Analog Productions. They have a 33 and they have a 45. Both are fantastic records. But an original will get you there. You know, you don't need to, you know, if you can find a clean one, that's the whole thing. You need to find a clean original if you want to talk about audiophile. And this one's minty. Took me a little bit to find one that hadn't been partied on a little bit, but killer cover too, obviously. You know, I believe this is like kind of a replica of an African mask, and then obviously you have the VU meter, and then the band, one of Herbie's great bands. This is on the Columbia label, so you can check that out. Boom, boom. And here's another that has been redone by Mobile Fidelity. I think maybe Friday Music did this too, or Sundays, one of those, which are a couple more audiophile labels. Chicago Transit Authority. And I know what you're saying, Josh. Oh God, I don't like Chicago, man. That is like some soft rock elevator music. Peter Cetera, come on. Well, this record is not that. I mean, this has got Terry Kath. Terry Kath brought the rock. He's kind of like the Joe Walsh of the Eagles, only he was in Chicago originally, unlike Joe Walsh. You know, he brought that rock edge and that rock guitar. This is a rock record. I mean, obviously we've got, does anybody know what time it is? But their cover of I'm a Man, was it South California Purples, I believe is the song on here. I mean, and the freeform guitar, awesome record, definitely audiophile. Has been redone by MoFi in their original back in the 80s, maybe the late 70s. Any of these are going to sound good, but if you want the definitive one, you're going to want to find the 360 label. Boom. So you got the Columbia 360 label. That is the original. You can also get it on the orange Columbia label as well, and it's going to sound great. But this is audiophile through and through. I actually played an orange label at my pop-up, and people were asking, what is this? I've never heard this before. Well, here you go. Chicago Transit Authority, Terry Kath. Yes, Peter Cetera's in it, but this is a rock record, and you need it in your collection, and definitely audiophile. Now, here's another one you're definitely familiar with. This is an early copy of Led Zeppelin 2, and if anybody knows, it's obviously the hot mix, the R.L. Sterling hot mix of Led Zeppelin 2, which if you don't know the story, basically it was cut hot to begin with. Ahmet Erdogan, the head of Atlantic, his daughter playing it on her little kid turntable. Well, the needle won't stay in the groove. It won't stay in there because it's cut too hot. You know, she comes to him, says, "Hey, Dad, this is what's happening." He's like, "Pull the plug, recut it. We got to cut it quieter." So I'm not really sure how long these were out there, but this has got the slam. I mean, Zeppelin's going to be in your living room. They're going to be playing for you live. It's got some sort of magic. It's got a little bit of compression on it that's just really killer. The Classic Records is amazing, which was another audiophile label at the dawn. So Classic Records, shout out to them. Their version's amazing, but the RL is the one. You're going to look for RL Sterling in the Dead Wax. RL is Robert Ludwig, Bob Ludwig, who later went on to Master Disc and mastered Brothers in Arms. Yes, I want my MTV. That is this record. So when Bob Ludwig left Sterling Sound, he started his own mastering house, Master Disc. And so this is one that he did. And Mobile Fidelity has redone this, obviously as a 45 RPM, but you just want to get the 33. It is awesome. You just want to find a clean copy, and yeah, this has got slam. You're just not going to find anything just as a regular record that sounds better than Brothers in Arms. Really, really amazing. It is going to have the RL and then Master Disc in the Dead Wax. So that's what you want to look for. It's got a cool label. Let's check out the label. So cool. Yeah. Awesome. So you just want to look for an original pressing of this. You don't have to buy the MoFi. This was actually recorded digitally to begin with, so this isn't an all analog recording, but hey, I'm not married to all analog. I think that records can sound good both ways. I think when we get into things being digital, some things that I don't like is Bluetooth. No, there's no such thing as audiophile Bluetooth. So just get that out of your vernacular. It's just not going to happen. Whether it's a turntable, I don't believe in it. And there may be some people that disagree. And when people are brick walling or they're compressing the hell out of these records, and that's what happens with a lot of modern records. They're brick walling them and compressing them where everything is loud and is at the same level, you know. So a lot of pop records are going to be that way because kids are listening to them through Bluetooth speakers or listen to it in their earbuds or whatever the hell they're called, you know. So or their little portable Bluetooth speakers, and you know, or their Bluetooth in their car, and it's meant to sound good through those things. But once you really put it down and it hasn't been mastered for vinyl and they've pressed that compressed sounding record onto vinyl and you put it on your turntable, it's gonna make your ears bleed, essentially, is what's gonna happen. So anyways, I hope that helped. Maybe you understand what an audiophile is, and you don't have to have $1 million system, you know. My system behind me, I have a Macintosh, I've got Klipsch, I've got a clear audio turntable. Everything together, probably $15,000. But you can have, you know, start with a vintage system, you know, $1,200, $1,500. And that's going to get you in that sweet spot where you're going to be able to really tell and enjoy these amazing recordings. So I hope that helped shed some light on audiophile records. Look for some of the things I talked about in the Dead Wax. Look for some of these originals, and definitely check out some of these audiophile labels as well, and you know, find out what sounds best to you. That's what makes the hobby fun. I appreciate you joining me. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be coming to you with more content, and I appreciate you guys watching. Peace.